Hey guys, I quit my job. So as you can see from the title, I left my position as a senior UX designer after working for over a year at my old company. So I just wanted to make this video so that I can kind of talk about some of the reasons why I felt like I needed to leave that position, some of the lessons I've learned, and also just to update you guys on what I'm doing now. So just to start off, this wasn't a spur of the moment decision, but a lot of things did really line up very well for me, and that it kind of just led me down to this path and where I am today. Ever since the first week that I really started at that job, I just knew it wasn't the right fit for me and it wasn't the right place for me either, which was honestly very disappointing because I thought I had a very good experience through the interview process and I was really excited about moving into this role. I also had left a previous job where I was just really happy already, but I was looking to venture into other things. So all in all, it was it was very upsetting that this didn't feel like the right place for me, and I knew that sooner or later I would be job hunting again so that I can switch into another role at another company. The thing is, the big goal that my husband or my fiance last year was that we really wanted to buy our first house, and that was the main thing that we both wanted to do. But the thing is, in order to get approved at the bank, you needed a letter of employment. And in order to get that letter of employment, you have to pass your probation period and be considered a full-time employee at your company. So this is a really standard kind of thing. After you pass your probation, you become an official employee, and you also get your benefits and all the other stuff too. And I wasn't happy, but I also felt like I can stick it out for at least 3 months and I can get that letter of probation and I can start looking for a house because that was our family, the priority for us. So we started house hunting about a month after I had joined my company, and we were looking very aggressively in order to find a place. Yeah, I ended up passing the probation period, I got my letter of employment, we got approved at the bank, found this house, got it, and signed the papers all within 2 weeks. So it was just a very hectic time for us, but we were very happy to be able to achieve this huge milestone together. So we took a couple more months in order to settle into our home, and by then I had worked at my job for about 6 months, and I really felt I'm not feeling any happier. I don't think things are improving or changing, and I really started to see how much it was affecting my mood. So basically every Friday I would be incredibly happy, just elated. I felt so free, all the weight from my shoulders just fell off. And then by the time Sunday night rolled around, I would be super irritable and very moody and tired and just dreading the Monday coming up. So yeah, it was definitely affecting my mood, and I really thought that, we're settled into our home, is probably a good time for me to start looking for another job. I would send out my resume and I would get a few phone interviews and screenings back, but nothing really I didn't really like anything I was getting back. The positions weren't something that I was very interested in, and all in all I just feel the timing wasn't very good for me at that point. And I think part of it too is just why is this person who just got into a senior role 6 months ago trying to look for another job so quickly? And it just wasn't a very good time for me. So even the jobs that I did get offers or extended interviews in, I don't know, I just didn't feel right, and I ended up declining a lot of them, or I just got rejected and didn't end up getting anything. And after some time of just job searching and working and not really being happy with either, I was just very upset with everything in general, which was mixed in with a lot of guilt as well, which was also making me upset into this vicious cycle. The guilt came from why are you so unhappy when there are so many wonderful things in your life? You're engaged and you're planning a wedding, and you just moved into a new house, you moved up in your career, and you're also honestly I was still getting a pretty good salary, but just the parts that made me very unhappy was dragging all of that down. And then it all kind of came to a head one day in the summer when I had a meeting, and I don't really want to talk about too much about what happened, but it was the first time from work that I actually just ended up crying, had to turn off the camera when I was in my call, and just I just ended up crying. And like I could feel the tears rolling down my face, and I was just so upset and so frustrated, and I felt so defeated, and it was just like a very, very low point for me, like probably the lowest point in my career that I have honestly ever really felt. And my husband was talking to me, and he's like, and he saw me like this, and he's just like, okay, something has to change, like you can't live like this, I can't watch you live like this, we can talk about this more, but I think at the end of the month, like it's either you have a new job and you go there, or you just quit and like take a break, or I don't know, like something has to change. And that's pretty much what he told me. The thing is though, like there was part of me that definitely agreed, like you know, maybe this just isn't worth it. But then I had this like surge of guilt coming up for me about just, you know, we had just purchased a house together. Like I could not imagine financially burdening him with the entire like responsibility of paying for the house and everything. So like just quitting and taking a break for some time, it just didn't feel like an option. And also, like I had been job hunting and it wasn't turning out good for me. Like I wasn't getting anything really back that made me feel confident that it would be better than my current situation, which it might have been, I don't know. And honestly, at that point I just felt like really stuck in my situation, and I had to decide that the only thing that I can really change at this point, like the only thing I had in my control, was to change how I felt about work. And honestly, like I really love UX design. Like I feel like it's such a privilege to be able to work in this field, and I'm so happy to be doing what I do. Like to the point that when I had first gotten my first UX design job ever, like I pretty much spent all of my like waking time thinking about UX, practicing, reading, strategizing, working on something, creating something, and it really just consumed my life for, I would say, like 2 years, where every single day I did something related to UX. And I loved it because I just was so happy to be in this field, and I felt very passionate about it. So it didn't feel like work. But the thing is, when I did that, somewhere along the line, it just started to become my identity, and I felt like I just put so much of my life and my focus and my energy into that thing, that when I was in the stuck situation that I was in now, I was really just upset that the thing that I had really cared about, like in a very dramatic way, like it betrayed me. Like I know it's dramatic, but like that's honestly the best way that I can describe it. And after some time of feeling that you don't know anything, or your opinions don't matter, your experience doesn't matter, your skills don't matter, it really just breaks you down, to be honest. And yeah, I knew that something needed to change. And after that meeting and that whole experience, I decided to really go back to the things that made me happy. But the problem ended up being that a lot of it was being in UX and doing UX design, and our relationship had changed and it had gotten a bit more complicated, so I had to go back to like the other things in my life that I had pushed off to the side while I was focusing on my career. So I went back to other things that made me happy, and also started to pick up some new hobbies. I read, I drew puzzles, I started taking care of plants, build some things in woodworking, spend more time with my family, cooking, baking, like all that other stuff that makes your life feel full. And that pretty much takes us to this year where, you know, everything was working and things were going really well. I'd also picked up another habit of journaling every night. So I learned that every night when you journal, you should journal down your stresses and just write them down on paper so that you can leave them, and then you can just go to bed and wake up fresh for the new day. As I was journaling, and after a while of journaling, I noticed that every day, even on weekends, my biggest stress was always work. And I just thought to myself, like, why am I still here? I've been here for like over a year at this point, and nothing's changing, nothing's really improved in that time. I had also stopped looking for jobs because I just wasn't really getting anything back, and I wanted to focus solely on getting back into my hobbies and improving my mental health, and also just like enjoying my life and learning how to set those work-life balance boundaries better. So I wasn't job hunting, but honestly I had to ask myself, like, why am I not leaving? Like, why am I just staying here? Like, why am I doing this to myself? And I did a lot of reflection about this, but what ended up being the reason is like something that's honestly really simple. I didn't quit because I thought it would make me be a quitter. So this is something that a lot of UX designers have talked about before, and like I think I mentioned it before too, but designing is only a small portion of what being a UX designer really is. A lot of it is also just educating your stakeholders and the rest of your team about UX design, increasing the UX maturity at a company, and honestly just promoting like better design and accessibility practices for your product and for your organization. And honestly, like when I was there, I felt like I tried really hard in order to do that part of my job, but I just wasn't getting anything positive back, and I didn't feel like I was very supported in this goal. The responses I got when I brought these things up was incredibly disheartening and discouraging. You know, the only reason that I guess I decided to stay so long was because, well, if I can't do this, then does that mean I'm bad at my job, or does this mean that I'm a bad UX designer? And I placed a lot of those failures onto myself, and I spent a lot of time taking it as a challenge that I need to overcome instead of really seeing what it was. I think that's just like why I decided to stay. Like, yeah. Anyways, it took a really long time for me to see it that way, and it's just really interesting how once I was able to realize that, a new opportunity opened the doors to me. So I'm really excited to tell you guys about this because it's the first time that it happened to me, and I don't know, like I thought it was really interesting. It all started from a message that I got on Dribbble, and I wasn't too like hopeful about it just because I haven't really had any success through social media and getting like job or freelancing opportunities. I actually made a video like a few months ago talking about all of the different ways that I had gotten a freelancing role. In that video, I basically talked about how social media just did not work for me. So things like Dribbble or Instagram, like it doesn't work for me. Like I've never had a solid opportunity actually go through. But I got a message from someone on Dribbble who was saying they were looking for a designer. So I took a look at their website and I thought they were doing something pretty interesting, and I decided to, you know, whatever, like I have time, let's set up an interview. So that first interview I had with the CEO and the CXO, and the CXO is like Chief Experience Officer. Basically, like we just started talking, they told me a lot about their product and asked me questions, kind of just like a normal interview, and I honestly really liked them. I really liked their vibe, I liked how they spoke, I liked the product they were working on, and it was just like, it was a really good interview. Towards the end of it, they did ask if I was able to present a case study to them. So at that point, like, you know, I haven't really been job searching, but I knew I was gonna have to gear back up again, and I was working on my portfolio, so I didn't exactly have like a new project that I was excited to show, but I just told them like, hey, I don't have anything done right now on my portfolio. My case study is just a bunch of images that I'm putting together right now in Figma, so if you're open to it, I would just love to share with you guys what I'm working on right now and just kind of walk you through my Figma file. And they liked it, they thought it was really good, and we ended up scheduling a second interview. And the second interview was an interview with the development team. And honestly, this is such a green flag for me when I go through the interview process. Like, not only is it important to meet the design team that you're going to be working in, but also you need to meet with the development team that you're going to be working with. So yeah, like of course it's really great to be able to meet with other designers that you have the potential to be working with, but keep in mind that like you guys are all designers working together towards the same perspective, and more often than not you guys are going to be on the same page or just agreeing with each other. However, the people that you have to like collaborate with and negotiate more with are definitely the development team or the developers that you're going to be working with. And just having a meeting where you can kind of gauge like how would they receive criticism, how would they deliver their feedback, can you guys negotiate, can you like work together in a professional setting like well, that is honestly such an important part and can hugely impact how you feel about your job. So if you ever get the chance when doing interviews to meet with your development team, that would honestly be such a great way for you to see whether or not that company would be a good fit for you. So yeah, I met with the development team and things were really good. I was really excited to start working with them, and then afterwards we started talking about a verbal offer. So at that point it was time to set up a meeting to do our negotiation. This might happen for you if you were talking to a startup, but sometimes they'll have like just a template of like all the different areas in your job offer they need to fill, and they'll actually walk it through with you so that you guys can negotiate in a meeting, like person to person. And honestly, that's really just because like there's a salary and like job title and equity or stocks that you guys need to kind of work through and negotiate. So that's just how it happens sometimes. But I got into that meeting, and one question that I just had to ask them like really bluntly was, what is your budget for someone to be in this role? And I've definitely had like other companies, when I ask this question, try to play like really stupid mind games. They'll be like, oh well, it just really depends on like your experience, or we don't really have a budget. What were you thinking? What are you currently paid? Like things like that. And honestly, whenever a company does that, it really just turns me off from wanting to work with them. But for this company, when I asked them, like they just gave me a really just a blunt, straight answer, just a number. And I really just felt like, okay, I can work here. I feel like I could be confident working here, and I like the team, I like the product, and I'm just excited. I feel like a very good vibe coming from this company. So I got the offer like right afterwards because, you know, we had just like filled it out basically, but they gave me some time to think about it, and I took the weekend to do so. And honestly, there was a part of me too that felt like I was a little scared that at my previous job, like I had a really good interview experience too, and then when I came in, like it was completely different, and I like just automatically knew that it wasn't a good place for me. So there was always that like little bit of doubt in the back of my mind that something similar would happen again. But you know, I've stayed at that job for over a year. I know exactly what goes on, and I know things aren't going to change. And now I have this opportunity where, who knows, things might be different. And if it's not, then I'll just find another job again. Like that's honestly how I had to reason it with myself. So that following Monday, I returned the job offer signed, and I gave my 2 weeks, and I left my job and I started a new one, and I have zero regrets at all. I'm very happy that I made this decision. So my new job is with a startup based out of Eastern Canada, and I am very, very excited about it. I'm really happy to be working there. Yeah, it just feels really, really good. I'm fully remote again, and my role is lead product designer. So it feels really good, honestly, to be able to move into a lead position. It's something that I had really set as a goal for myself, but for like 2 or 3 years down the line maybe. So I'm happy to be into this position right now, and honestly the work that I'm doing is incredibly challenging. It's probably like the most difficult kind of work that I've ever had to do in my career, but I also feel like I'm doing the best work that I've ever done too, and that feels amazing. I feel incredibly fulfilled. And just with like the overall reduction in stress that I've had since I switched over to my job, I found myself really starting to enjoy my job again and enjoy designing again. Like I'm having ideas again, which feels really great, and I can feel that like itch to make something, which was something that I hadn't felt in a very long time. One of my goals this year was definitely to create more design with me videos and create more, and I finally feel like I'm starting to get into that mindset where I can do this, and I look forward to doing it. And I think through all of this, one thing that I really realized was just how full my life was with or without my job. Like I'm so happy to have my husband with me, and to have Bun and my parents, and just like I feel so supported in all my decisions. So I feel very grateful for the people in my life who had been with me through that time, and I'm just really appreciative for them. And honestly, like I am pretty grateful that I was able to have these kind of lessons and experiences at this point in my career. I definitely have changed in my relationship with UX. I love what I do, but it's only a small part of who I am. So yeah, I think that takes us to the end of this video. For most of my videos, I usually end them off by saying, oh well, I hope this was able to help you. But I think this time I actually just have to say, like, thank you guys for helping me. Thank you guys for listening to me and letting me tell you my story. Yeah, this past year was definitely the most difficult I've ever had for my career. I appreciate all the lessons that I've learned from it. Like I've definitely learned how to be more firm in my boundaries, and how to deal with confrontation and tension, and just how to demand respect too. So a lot of really important lessons that I was able to learn that I'm grateful for. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye.